Apportionment, the airport, because so it'd be the 457 would be citywide. You're kind of dedicated.
I had two separate agendas. Is there any reason for that to be different? So, Secretary Davis should drop this.
Well, in the picture, yeah,
This is the same.
I think we'll give him the orange. One was the pretty. Yep. Very. She just so sprayed through. Okay, none. Bye.
Faults are all over ground air there. Such
Seriously.
where it does her. So where you want. So
Are you ready?
Yes.
Murray, I'd like to call the special meeting of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment to order. Madam Davis, please call the roll.
Mayor Spencer,
Present.
Comptroller Behringer,
Present.
President Green,
Present.
all are present.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. We have three items presented for the first time this morning. Item number one would be the response to the Aldermanic Budget and Public Employees Committee proposed amendments and other changes to Board Bill number 1 for fiscal year 2026. Item number 2, request from the Director of Parks and Recreation and Forestry for approval of Board Bill number 8. This ordinance provides for the execution and delivery of an extension agreement by the City of St. Louis and CF Forest Park Barkus LLC regarding the facility known as Krobstein Golf Course. And item number 3, request from the Director of Parks and Recreation and Forestry for approval of Board Bill number 9. This ordinance provides for the execution and delivery of an extension to Louis and Evergreen Alliance Golf Limited LP regarding the facility known as Highland Golf Course. Now I'd like to turn it over to Budget Director Paul Payne for discussion on item number 1.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, before you have a packet that itemizes proposed amendments to Board Bill 1. It's broken into 3 sections. The first section are requested additions proposed by the Budget Committee, which obviously needs to be come back here for approval. A second group are technical changes and other changes to the budget separate from those. And then that third group, just for FYI purposes, includes the Budget Committee recommendations as approved by the Budget Committee at the Board of All. So, in each one's itemized, and I'll go through those. The first being the increase in attorney force salaries. Number 1 is City Councilor's office. That's offset by a reduction in 2 attorney 1 positions that you see below. Basically, that's a response to the City Councilor is indicating that they could get by with a couple of attorneys, but it was like increase their salaries with the upper level ones so they can attract and retain those. Item number 2 is the neighborhood stabilization, having a customer service rep and a customer service supervisor, and that also has a commensurate reduction in down below in neighborhood stabilization. Item number 3 is the building division, adding 1 senior plan examiner, a building inspector 2, and a payroll specialist. That also has funds cut below as approved by the Budget Committee for executive assistant 2, zoning inspector, and customer service guy. Item number that is building division building demolition fund, separate from the general revenue. That adds 2 utility workers, and the reduction was to cutting 1 building inspection manager and some supply accounts. Item number 5 for SEMA, that's adding a program specialist and $10,000 in health and safety supplies. Item number 6 is refuse division, adding 1 government services analyst, and you can see a reduction below in the refuse division for the refuse and route and safety coordinator, and $100,000 in per performance reduction. Item number 7, the traffic division, adding 2 painter positions. Item also SEMA software licenses, and item number 9 is the parks division, adding 2 utility workers, and they are reducing their per performance account pay for that. And in the other proposed changes, item 10 and A and B, this is a change that was made to the personnel schedule last month in the current fiscal year regarding the public information officer in the police department moving to the mayor's office. This, because we did that for this year, but we also had to reflect that in next year's budget, so that would do that. Item number 11 is a change in the personnel schedule for the comptroller's office, eliminated the second assistant comptroller specialist comptroller position, as well as the special assistant to the comptroller, and adding the deputy comptroller and executive assistant. These are also changes that we made of last month's, but it just needs to be reflected in the FY26 budget. And that, again, it has no impact on the budget. It's just a change in the personnel schedule. Item number 12 is the register, the computer service for about $4,500 for some computer service and licenses that were not included in our original budget. Item number 13 is actually a correction in the city councilor's office. When they added that vacant building initiative position, actually they added it both places, and we couldn't want to do that. And so the problem properties unit was added in error, so that's being corrected there. That's item number 14. This is Human Services Department Impacted Tenants Fund. This is bringing up $100,000 in emergency shelter funds and allocating that to the Impacted Tenants Fund for next year. So that they're going to be transferring monies over to that fund, so we need to appropriate those all. That's $100,000. Item number 15. These last few here are actually correcting titles. President BPS, position titles of Program Manager 1 to a Program Specialist 1. 16 is Equipment Service Police Unit, correcting the position titles Administrative Assistant to Customer Service Rep. And item number 17 is the Building Division, 1 building inspector, a supervisor, and 3 building inspectors, which were omitted. This is actually a correction from the general obligation bond personnel schedule, so they need to be included. Again, these have no impact on the budget, but it's corrections to the personnel schedules. And then finally on 18, that's the citywide accounts. Reduction in assessor subsidy, that's just to keep the general fund balanced. That's when it was close to being balanced with additions, reductions, but that's just overall to keep the general fund within its appropriation. And then finally on item 19, the capital fund, Exhibit H, that provides the project details for the ward accounts. In proposed Ward Bill 1, it was just a lump sum number for each ward. Now we also have exhibits with BPS working with all the people to come up with the details of those projects. So that includes those exhibits. And so the bottom line is the general fund remains balanced. The increases offset the decreases. And then special funds 11, actually it's a reduction of $80,000 simply because there's a correction in that one problem properties unit. And then they're also adding $100,000 to the Impacted Tenants Fund. And that's the extent of the proposed charges.
Thank you, Walt. Do we have any discussion on item 1?
I think I would just first want to extend thanks to our budget committee and to Alderman Aldrich Stokely. And let's see, you're behind Bob's head. Where is he? For moving so swiftly, for having a very seamless budget process. I think you've done a great job in putting everything together. Just wanted to make sure that I recognize the budget committee. I'd wholeheartedly support all the amendments that were passed by the budget committee and are reflected here today. And also just for the public, want to make sure that we are clear that in this budget, we are not proposing doing $1 million from reserves into Impacted Tenants Fund. But that is because when we made that initial amendment in committee, we did not have a Ransville yet. And now we have a Ransville that will be introduced tomorrow, and we'll be making that allocation rather than this allocation. So I just want to get ahead of any confusion there that funding will still exist, just from a different place. And I also just want to thank Director Payne for all of your painful meetings. And a million conversations to get us to where we need to be. So congratulations on another successful budget season, and for everyone, concerned about storm response, this is all of our conversations are just the beginning. And I think we all know that we're committed to having as many conversations as we need to make sure we get all the aid necessary to residents. Well,
President Green, any further discussion? I would like to also, Director Payne, thank you for your work on this. And thank the budget committee, in particular the budget chair, Alderman Aldrich, for your diligent work. Your first year as budget chair, really taking this budget process forward. And moving them forward, largely almost exclusively without the mayor's office involvement, which is unusual. Was not the intention of the mayor's office when we started this process, but given the events over the last 3 weeks, I really appreciate that the folks involved in this effort were able to move that forward with very little participation from our offices, given the circumstances that we were operating under. I also want to thank the president and the comptroller for really being willing to put all hands on deck for the emergency declaration. Our city employees have been working around the clock to address the tornado. We have not yet quantified what that cost will be. We know it's going to be significant. Just this morning down at the building division, seeing the huge troops of folks out there just doing additional work. And as we work to quantify how much additional cost these additional manpower hours have cost from the building division, from the forestry, from parks, from our first responders, police and fire, and EMS, and all the folks that had been just truly working around the clock to just really start to address the overwhelming needs of the communities impacted by the tornado. I just want to thank you, particularly the comptroller's office, having to just really come online really quickly to be in compliance with what will hopefully be federal guidelines through FEMA. Fingers crossed that we get that a designation. We know it was a huge lift, especially early on, to get those processes and procedures in place to do that. The president's office really taking the mantle on a lot of the policy discussions and helping working with the mayor's office to get those things through, and making sure that, especially as we look to mobilize these funds to relocate tenants and some homeowners who are going to be put in the position of being tenants through mobilizing $1 million. I know that I can speak for myself here and say I'm committed to doing that work, to allocating those funds and getting them mobilized as quickly as possible, recognizing the bill that's going to be introduced Friday. We have already started that work. We'll continue with it with all three members of the Board of DNA here united to make sure that we have some funds, a significant amount of funds to relocate tenants. The Board of Aldermen, the chair of Budget Committee has been committed to this as well. And we are stand united in this effort to make sure that we have a serious amount of funds available to relocate both tenants in particular, but homeowners as well, who are forced into that position to have a deposit. So thank you. Thank you for that. And Comptroller Behringer. Thank you, Mayor. I would like to just say ditto to what both of you said. So great. But I also want everyone in here to know that I'm here if you need me. Especially, I look forward to doing more help with the budget next year, because I'll be more involved in the way ahead, all the information, and I've been here at least 1 year. So thank all of you very much, especially my staff. And in addition to all the work that our city workers are doing, there are so many folks on the ground doing so much work on particularly the nonprofits and just the community who has come together to really put boots on the ground. We know it's a heavy lift to ask that the folks doing that work for free, essentially, also start to log hours. It's so important because the FEMA match requires the public entity come to the table with 25% of what the match from the federal side would be, and those volunteer hours really help make sure that as our city workers are doing overtime, that we don't overburden the city budget. We know we will, but we also have been very clear to our departments that we are all hands on deck to do every single thing we can to address things. So thank you to everyone, and in particular those folks that are not on our payroll who are doing an enormous amount of work to address the needs in our communities. And I'm mad at Mother Nature right now, but I'm also real grateful that the tornado yesterday did not touch down here in the city and cause greater damage. With that, I will take a motion on the items here before you, unless we have further discussion. Seeing no discussion, I'll take a motion on the items presented for the first time.
I move that we adopt the items presented for the first time.
Say, Madam Davis, please call the roll.
Mayor Spencer,
Aye.
Comptroller Behringer,
Aye.
President Green,
Aye.
all are in favor.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I also just mentioned, you probably saw the news this morning, but the state Senate, under the leadership of Governor Mike Kehoe, passed sometime around 1 or 2 a.m. Out of the Senate a measure that, as we know, would really put some funding to our stadiums in Kansas City area, but would also allocate $100 million of state funding to address some tornado victims here in St. Louis. We're grateful for their work on that. And in particular, Casey Milberg of the mayor's office to working on that. But everybody, our state senators, Roberts, May, and Williams, and of course, across the board, have been just working so hard to make sure that we have some state funding to help us here in our time of need. All right, with that, you can adjourn, right? Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
motion was the second this eight. Second. All right, all in favor. Aye.